concerning jump in active cases in long-term care homes.
Everything that we were going through in our first wave, unfortunately, we're starting to repeat a lot of that over again.
We'll have the latest on how the second wave of COVID-19 is impacting our most vulnerable. Plus,
the second that it turned to clear cut of racism and, violence, just as Canadians we can't stand for, we can't be part of.
Toronto business owners are expressing their support for Indigenous fishing rights amid the ongoing dispute between commercial and Mi'kmaq fishermen in Nova Scotia. And
it's a special day at the races. A local horse known as the One-Eyed Wonder is looking to make history. Mighty Heart may only have one eye, but his trainer says what he lacks in sight, he makes up for in heart.
He has a huge desire to win. In any athlete, that's the decisive factor.
I'm Angelina King at Woodbine Racetrack. I'll have the results from the race coming up.
Good evening, I'm Marivel Tarouk. The province reported a new record for COVID-19 cases today with 978. That's the most on a single day since the outbreak began in January. The majority of new cases are once again concentrated in the province's hotspots. Toronto leading the way with 348. Another 170 were reported in Peel region, followed by 141 in York and 89 in Ottawa. The number of people in hospital now sits at 294, an increase of 18 since yesterday. 82 people are in intensive care units. And just like we've seen in the first wave of COVID-19 in the spring, long-term care facilities are fast becoming a place of serious concern. Lorenda Redekop reports.
78 long-term care homes are now in an outbreak, up one from yesterday. There's also been a huge spike in how many people living in these homes are affected, with 321 active cases, 92 more than yesterday.
This is the biggest jump that we've actually seen in long-term care resident cases in a single day since our second wave began. And it just reminds us again that as we've had more community transmission, it means that we have more staff that are actually bringing the infection into the homes.
2 more people died at this home near Ottawa. In total, 110 people there have tested positive. The Red Cross will be helping out, something the home urgently asked for. There are now 78 active cases, though many are asymptomatic. Across Ontario, some changes have been made since the first wave, when more than 1,800 people died in the province's long-term care homes. But there's a push for more help in an industry where wages are often lower than in hospitals.
Number one issue is staffing right now, less so PPE. And I'm concerned that if we don't get this right sooner rather than later, we're going to see a number of more outbreaks and unfortunately a number of avoidable deaths.
Today, the number of people working in long-term care who have the virus also rose by more than 30 to 269.
People are frightened. There is an element of fear and anxiety of catching this, who in many cases have been traumatized by what they went through in the first wave, are highly anxious about this wave.
One recommendation for long-term care released by an independent commission yesterday is that more studies about staffing aren't needed. The government released one in July, but hasn't implemented the changes. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
The Centre for Addiction and Mental Health is reporting another outbreak of COVID-19. One additional patient and staff member have confirmed cases. That brings the total number of patients with the virus to 10, along with 4 staff members. A virtual fundraiser was held today to support a spike in demand for grief support and programming due to the pandemic.
Losing a loved one at any time is unimaginable. During the pandemic, it means that people are robbed of their grieving tools. That might be connecting with someone else, mourning rituals such as a funeral, or even just being able to say goodbye to a loved one.
Some got creative for the 5K memorial by dressing up. The funds raised will go to the group Bereaved Families of Toronto. Since the pandemic hit, the charity has seen a 35% surge in demand. Cochrane walked her 5 kilometers in costume on the Scarborough Bluffs in honor of her daughter, who died in 2016.
Her spirit animal is a flamingo. So I wanted to dress as a flamingo in order to honor her at the same time as raising funds for BFO, to try and help other people find healing and to alleviate some of the pain they're experiencing.
The organization provides free support to those who've lost a loved one and are still taking donations on their website. Six Nations Council is urging the federal and provincial governments to step up as tensions rise between the OPP and demonstrators over a long-standing land dispute outside of Hamilton.
For us, we understand what sovereignty means. We understand what nation to nation means. And so this top-down way of talking that both the federal and provincial government have been doing is horrible.
Road closures were in effect in parts of Caledonia today as demonstrators oppose a housing development at Mackenzie Meadows. Earlier this week, protesters were ordered by a judge to leave the land reclamation camp known as 1492 Land Back Lane. Reports of violence came hours after the ruling, with demonstrators accusing police of firing rubber bullets and police alleging cruisers were damaged. A road was dug up in front of the development overnight on Friday. Opponents have been camped out at the site for months, arguing the development is on unceded Indigenous land and violates their sovereignty. Dozens of protesters have been arrested since the dispute began. Local businesses are standing up for Indigenous fishing rights in Nova Scotia. Some Toronto stores and restaurants have stopped ordering lobster from commercial fishermen embroiled in a dispute with Mi'kmaq fishers. The conflict has led to violent clashes and acts of vandalism against the Indigenous fishery. Kelda Yoon has more on the local show of support.
Inside this downtown kitchen, chef Matt Dean Pettit is busy preparing shrimp rolls. He started his new food delivery service, Coast, just a month ago, focused on lobster dishes. That's now changed. Today, he's giving away his shrimp rolls for free and encouraging a donation to support Mi'kmaq fishers in Nova Scotia, who have been targeted with violence from commercial fishers. The Mi'kmaq have the legal right to operate their fishery outside of the federally mandated season.
The second that it turned to clear cut of racism and violence is obviously something that just as Canadians we can't stand for, we can't be part of.
Pettit actually didn't source his lobster from Nova Scotia, but hopes his lobster boycott will shed light on the issue there.
We made a decision to stand with other cooks and chefs in solidarity across the country, Halifax, Montreal, here in Toronto, retail stores, a bunch of places, and said, we're going to do our small part as a company, as a small business during a really tough time.
It's a sentiment shared by Toronto fishmonger Hooked.
Well, I think I'm like probably like most people, appalled.
Owner Dan Donovan says Hooked supports the Indigenous right to fish and has stopped ordering lobster from Nova Scotia, switching their supply to PEI.
Yeah, so that decision was in response to the violence. Although this issue is current there, it exists right across Canada.
Donovan has been in the industry a long time and lived in Nova Scotia for 6 years.
To see the fishermen protesting, as had been going on, that was not a surprise. That was kind of business as usual, pulling up people's traps and dumping them in the DFO parking lot. So in a way, I wasn't surprised to see a response. I'm shocked at how far it's gone.
He says his customers have been supportive of the decision, and he's hopeful tensions between the two sides will die down soon.
I think it just takes a little bit of time to mend some fences, and it will resolve.
The Supreme Court is stepping in tonight to protect Mi'kmaq lobster fishermen, granting them a temporary injunction that prevents others from trying to interfere with their fishery and authorizing police to arrest anyone who does. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
Take a look at this. If you were in the city last night, you no doubt saw a few cracks of lightning, but maybe not quite like this. A resident took this spectacular video from their balcony, capturing the exact moment the CN Tower was struck. Fear not, though, the tower is designed to cope with lightning strikes. On average, it's struck 75 times every year. And Christina, with that lightning came some pretty wet weather here in Toronto and the GTA too, I guess.
Absolutely. That looked like a scene from Back to the Future. Kind of freaky, right?
I know, but cool.
Cool, absolutely. So speaking of cool, staying clear, cool and calm, thanks to that high pressure with the Great Lakes, we're going to get to that. But let's talk about some record-breaking warmth. None of that reached the Greater Toronto area. The capital, Ottawa, reached 24.8 degrees. We haven't seen that since 1979 in the nation's capital. So from record-breaking warmth into some frost, once again, not penetrating the Greater Toronto area, but if you're headed to Hamilton, Niagara Falls, and well into southwestern Ontario, well, we're going to be dealing with some frost there into the Greater Toronto area. Let's take a look at this evening. Toronto, Hamilton, Kitchener, Barrie, and Oshawa. So your 8 p.m. Toronto at 6 degrees. Getting a little cooler towards our 12 a.m. 2 degrees. You might want to take those garden hoses in. So as I mentioned, we're dealing with that high pressure over the Great Lakes, keeping us clear, cool, and calm into our Sunday. But then Sunday overnight, we're going to start to be dealing with this unorganized system that is going to bring us some rainfall. So your Sunday, we're still going to be enjoying some sunshine, a lot of cloud cover. Toronto at 8 degrees, Mississauga at 7 degrees. But then come Monday, here comes that rainfall. We will also be dealing with a chance of some wet snow. That's well north of the Greater Toronto area, though.
Okay, we'll check in for the long range in a bit. Thanks, Christina.
All right, thank you.
It has been an exciting day at the races. The 129th Breeder Stakes took place, and all eyes were on a special underdog horse and his trainer from Ontario. And both were looking to make history this evening. Mighty Heart, who only has one eye, was competing to win the Canadian Triple Crown after winning the Queen's Plate and Prince of Wales Stakes last month. So let's bring in Angelina King, who joins us live from Woodbine Racetrack. Angelina, you were there for it all. The race just finishing. Was history made?
Unfortunately, I have to report that history was not made. It was still a really exciting race, and Mighty Heart started off really strong. In the end, coming in 7th, Belichick won first place. A lot of people, though, were cheering for Mighty Heart. If he had won, he would have been the first one-eyed horse to ever win the Canadian Triple Crown, and it would have made his trainer, Josie Carroll, the first female to ever win the title. However, though, a little bit of good news here for Josie Carroll. Belichick is her horse as well, so she did end up winning the race in one way or another. She's grew up in Scarborough, now lives in Mississauga. So if Mighty Heart would have won, he would have been the 8th horse to ever win the Canadian Triple Crown since the series was established back in 1959. And then with this year, it makes 18 years now since a horse has won the Canadian Triple Crown. But still, Mighty Heart has a really incredible story. He lost his left eye when he was very young. His owner almost kind of gave up on him, but his trainer, Josie Carroll, saw something in him, knew that he had potential, and said that he just needed a little bit more confidence, knowing that he would improve. I spoke with her before the race. Here's what she had to say about why Mighty Heart is such a special horse.
He has a huge desire to win, and I think in any racehorse, in any athlete, that's the decisive factor in making you top. His eye isn't a big factor at this stage. He did lose it at 2 weeks old, so his reality is a one-eyed reality. That's how he sees the world.
Prince of Wales, and then now the
Winning the Triple Crown is a very difficult feat. So it's 3 different races, all run within a few weeks of one another. And a lot of the time, it's the first time the horses have ran that sort of length. Also, each race is run on 3 different surfaces: grass, dirt, and tapeta, which is kind of a different blend of fibers, wax, and sand.
What makes that so difficult is, one, the versatility to do that, but secondly, to keep a horse in top form like that over a couple of months. And it's a great feat to be able to do it.
Still, Mighty Heart has had a really good year. Of his 6 races, he's won 3, including the $1 million Queen's Plate and the $400,000 Prince of Wales race. Tonight would have added another $400,000 and, of course, making history. Now, this race also was run without any spectators because of the pandemic. Woodbine says that at a big race like this, there typically would be between 7,000 and 10,000 people. Still, though, a lot of excitement here tonight, even though history was not made. Maribel?
We're going to call Mighty Heart a winner in our books anyway. Thanks for this, Angelina.
Absolutely.
restaurant owners are going to have to figure out some form of a creative way to extend their patio season.
The future of outdoor dining amid the pandemic may be a little more comfortable because of this local innovation. We'll tell you more about these snow pods coming up. The Broadview and Danforth neighborhood is trying to stretch out patio season for as long as possible by giving away free thermal blankets.
As soon as I put it on, I felt the difference. I was saying to my husband I could stay here all day.
We're encouraging people to shop and at retail or bars and restaurants. We're anticipating walking along the Danforth and seeing everybody wearing one of these beautiful thermal blankets.
It's called the Fall Thrill of the Chill initiative. Starting today, those who visit a restaurant patio in the area will get a free thermal blanket, plus a $5 gift certificate. The BIA has around 1,000 blankets to give out throughout the week. It's all aimed at getting people out and supporting business in their neighborhood as the city remains under modified Stage 2 restrictions. Now, the impending cold weather is bringing with it a lot of uncertainty for Toronto restaurant owners. With indoor dining restricted for the next while to slow the spread of COVID-19, many restaurants will be counting on diners braving the cold and eating outside. Besides donning a thermal blanket, how can that be done safely, let alone comfortably? Ali Chiasson now with one local innovation that's getting some attention.
Cool. Here we are.
This all looks very easy to wipe down.
Very easy to wipe down. It's made of a transparent PVC plastic.
Are snow pods the future of outdoor dining? That's uncertain, like so much else these days. They're an idea.
But I got to thinking about how detrimental this upcoming winter is going to be for the hospitality industry.
Adam Panov has worked with this style of pod at food festivals before and figured with some modifications, they could be used for safe and comfortable outdoor dining this winter.
Depending on your region, indoor dining is either heavily restricted or prohibited altogether. Restaurant owners are going to have to figure out some form of a creative way to extend their patio season.
He says several restaurants have already shelled out the $1,800 for a snow pod. Then it's up to the restaurant staff to maintain and sanitize them, and somehow ensure the parties they're seating inside of a snow pod are within their household cohorts. Details on what's going to be allowed by municipal licensing and standards for each city are still being worked out. But this innovation has already got the attention of the Premier, who likes the idea.
Someone came to us the other day about putting these bubbles. I don't know if you've ever seen those clear plastic bubbles you can go in outside. It's not the full solution, but it's another tool that they can use, and we got that approved through our health table.
Let's get a second opinion from a doctor.
I do have a couple of concerns about this model.
Infectious disease expert Zane Chagla says more ventilation points would be good, especially in the winter when people might be tempted to close them for warmth.
The more open air that's coming in, the better. There is certainly room to evaluate these types of models. And again, I'm really happy that companies are coming forward and thinking about ways to do this safely.
We're engaging in ongoing discussions with the government to make sure that these are implemented at the safest level possible, and hopefully we can get them out there to help some people out.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Voters in British Columbia are heading to the polls today to choose the next provincial government. BC is the second province to vote amid the coronavirus pandemic. NDP leader John Horgan called the snap election last month and is hoping to win a majority government. More than 1 million votes have already been cast, either in advance polling or by mail. Elections BC must wait 13 days, though, before opening those mail-in ballots, meaning if the numbers are close, it could be some time before the winner is declared. And with just days to go before the U.S. presidential election, both Joe Biden and Donald Trump are ramping up their campaign rallies. They're hitting key battleground states this weekend to shore up support from voters.
It's a choice between a Trump super boom and a Biden lockdown.
I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I will govern as an American president for everybody.
Biden held a drive-in, physically distanced rally in Pennsylvania where he criticized Trump's response to COVID-19. In North Carolina, Trump opted for a packed crowd and mocked the health precautions the Democratic nominee is taking. This all follows the U.S. setting a single-day record for new COVID infections yesterday. Election Day is November 3rd. You're looking at a live shot of our beautiful waterfront. The sun setting on a crisp but sunny fall day earlier. Christina is back with another check on the forecast after the break. Say it ain't snow. It may still be October, but winter isn't far off. This is the scene in Timmins today. People clearly making the most of an early season snowfall. I guess if you're going to have it, that's the way to do it, Christina. Dress up as Santa.
Absolutely, Maribel. Keep a good attitude. So it's below zero, below seasonal in Northern Ontario. We're not quite there yet for Southern Ontario, although Saturday overnight, it's going to feel like -3, so keep that quilt handy. Sunday morning, 2 degrees, feeling like -2. Still going to be dry for our morning, plenty of cloud cover, but then it's evening when things are really going to start to change up. So our afternoon high for our Sunday, Toronto, 8 degrees, feeling like 5, Oakville, 8 degrees, feeling like 4, and then here comes that unorganized system. Out goes that high pressure that's been keeping us cool, clear, and dry over the Great Lakes. And then you can see this snowfall over Timmins, Mirabel, where we saw those visuals. So northeastern Ontario. For southern Ontario, here comes that rainfall, and north of the Greater Toronto area, rather, we could also be dealing with some wet snow. So let's take a look at our next 7 days. So here's your sunshine for Sunday. Get out there and enjoy it at 8 degrees. Monday, here comes that system staying into Tuesday. Wednesday, clear skies. Cloud cover starts building up for our Wednesday, Thursday. Temperatures start to drop for our Friday at 6 degrees. Although it is going to feel like 3, you may need that parka. I know I certainly do. Barrie, Ontario, Sunday, 7 degrees. There's that sunshine and cloud cover. Monday and Tuesday, here is that system I've been telling you about. Wednesday and Thursday, here is that building cloud cover as well. Saturday, so for next weekend, return of that sunshine, but at 7 degrees, you're seeing these cooler temperatures now moving in. Kitchener, Ontario, Sunday at 7 degrees, feeling like 3. Monday, plenty of cloud cover. We're not going to see that system penetrate Kitchener, Ontario until our Tuesday, 6 degrees. And then Wednesday and Thursday, sunshine at 8 degrees. Friday, here come those flurries for Kitchener, 6 degrees. By the time we get to the next weekend, 8 degrees, plenty of sunshine.
Okay, it's a week to be ready for everything. Thanks, Christina.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Okay. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. You can stay caught up on news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. We're going to leave you tonight with some gorgeous pictures of the fall colors at the Scarborough Bluffs. Try to get out and enjoy that. Christina says we're going to have a lovely Sunday to do that. You might just need a scarf. Have a great night, everyone.